So I'm sure that a lot of you, like me, are really disappointed that there wasn't a new MacBook Pro released this year at WWDC in June. It's looking like the new MacBook Pro will be released around September, so here's what we can expect from that. First, the Oled Touch Bar. So if you haven't heard of this, it's basically a touch bar that will replace the function keys on your Mac's keyboard. It can change in function to show specific tasks such as play, pause, and skip for iTunes. This is good because the function of the keys is a lot more flexible since they can be controlled by software and therefore be theoretically routed to almost any task on the computer, if Apple decides to make the touch bar open source, that is. So basically be about 99% sure that we'll see this feature whenever the MacBook Pro comes out. Another feature we might see is Kaby Lake. This is the next generation of Intel chips. It's actually probably the reason that we didn't see a new MacBook this month. It's also the reason that the Surface 5 wasn't released. It doesn't make much sense for Apple to release a new laptop when its CPU will no longer be top of the line after a month or two. So, understandably, they'll wait for Kaby Lake. Now, although I really wanted to see a new MacBook, it's overall the more logical decision to wait until you have the new CPU. So we'll probably see Kaby Lake in around Q3 of this year, which means anywhere from July to October. It'll feature the same 14nm construction that we saw in the Skylake and Haswell processors, so that means we won't see a huge performance gain. However, we will retain DDR4 memory support with native USB 3.1 support. So while we're on the topic of DDR4, that'll be something we will see in the MacBook most likely. Now you can go ahead and argue with me in the comments, but as far as I've seen, the performance gains of DDR4 are not huge. They have quicker reads, but pretty much the same writes. What we really gain is power efficiency. DDR4 is considerably more power efficient than DDR3, which is something that's negligible for desktops but fantastic for laptops. Now, how much of an actual effect this has on battery life, I'm not really sure, but if you know, go ahead and post it in the comments. There's also been a lot of talk of Apple throwing out almost all the ports on the MacBook Pro for multiple Usbc ports. I for one hope this doesn't happen. The whole point of the MacBook Pro is for an all-in-one laptop that has power and connectivity. Removing all the ports for USB-C deletes a lot of current connectivity. Even though the USB-C is really good, no one has really started using it. I mean, everyone's still using a USB flash drive like USB 3.0 or 2.0. It'll take time to move over to USB-C, but we won't get there by forcing it. Okay, so my final rumor doesn't actually have to do with the MacBook Pro, but the state of the entire MacBook line. So there's also been a lot of talk of Apple completely removing the Macbook Air. If not this generation, then the next one. It won't happen this year because remember, Apple just released the new MacBook just last year. If they're going to replace the Air line with it, why would they even release a new MacBook Air? What I mean is they made the all-new MacBook line separate from the Air line. So that means for at least one new generation, they plan on keeping the Air line alive. Otherwise, they wouldn't have released the MacBook. It would have been the next generation MacBook Air. Now, obviously, we can't say for sure what's going on in Apple's brain, but this is a pretty good guess. They'll probably be released in the September range of things, although Apple could call a surprise press conference to release them right after Kaby Lake gets out, just like how they did that for the MacBook. Regardless, hold on to your money for a little bit longer. My name's Akil Mohideen, and I will see you guys in the next one.